Council Budget Workshop Session Number 1 to order. Today is Tuesday, May the 21st, 2024, and it's 6 p.m. There's a typo on, I'm looking at something wrong. Okay. Yeah, we are in 2024, but on the sheet, I look like it's got 2023. Just had to make sure my glasses, I didn't need to put on my glasses, okay. All right, but the invocation will be given by Councilwoman Robinson, and after Councilwoman Robinson, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we give you thanks. Thanks for this day. Thanks for our town. Thanks for all these people gathered around that spend their time serving the citizens. I also would like tonight to recognize and thank God for the life of Marie Reed, who spent her time here in Winterville by choice. We thank you for everything, and we thank you for the food that we're about to receive.
Amen. I apologize for that. If we all stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which is one nation, let me take this time to mute my phone, which I thought I had done. And again, I'd like to welcome everyone. Of course, my name is Ricky Hines, the mayor. We have a full house of all our department heads tonight and our council, so we can get down to business on this budget. So, you know, we are ready to get it done. Next up, we have our town manager would do the roll call, please.
Yes, sir. I will start with Councilwoman Smith.
Present.
Councilwoman Robertson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem, excuse me, trying to choke down here. Farrell. Thank you. Mayor Hines.
Present.
Councilman Johnny Moore. Boy, excuse me. Councilwoman Hawkins.
Present.
Mayor, everyone's present and accounted for.
All right. Next up is the approval of the agenda.
I'm sorry, Mr. Moore, you may have to turn your microphone on. It is on. You may have to get up close and personal.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the.
I have a motion on the floor by Councilman Johnny Moore, second by Councilwoman Dr. Harrell. Any discussion? If none, I'll vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carry. Right before we go into break for dinner, if Mr. Moore, will you bless food, please?
Dear Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the hands that have prepared the food. Thank you for the nourishment of our body. In Jesus' name.
Man,
And
we're going to take a 30-minute recess, and we'll be back. I'd like to resume the meeting. Items for discussion is the fiscal year 2024-25 recommended budget. And I'm gonna turn it over to our town manager, Ms. Parker.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody enjoyed their dinner, got enough to eat. It was good, Donald. Thank you very much. Since this is the first time that this group has collectively been through this process together, I'd like to go over a couple of things right out of the gate, if that's all right. First of all, we still have one unit in this room that is broken, HVAC unit. I believe the contractor's here on scene currently trying to fix it. The air conditioner in my office is also out, which is a different unit. So if it's a little warmer in here than usual, please bear with us. And most everybody's probably fine. I'm usually the one suffering, and I'll be fine. That's right, that's right. And Anthony's gonna jump in if I pass out. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so you all received your budget books. Again, this is your recommended draft budget. Since Monday when they were delivered, we found a couple of things that warranted some changes in the revenue documents as well as the expenditure documents, and they would be the spreadsheets behind tabs 3 and 4. We handed you an updated copy, and in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the date and time it was printed, so you can keep up with your various iterations. But you have a new set of revenues as well as a new set of expenditures. And Don has so graciously put a blue sheet divider so that you can utilize that between your older version and your new version. So the budget, the undrafted budget message did not change. That document, which is behind tab number 1, remains as is to date, so there's no new one of those. That will be the main document that I'm referring to this evening. We don't go line by line. I try to talk about the overall big picture. We'll talk about things that council normally votes on this first evening, and then we'll certainly try to answer any questions. So again, anybody have any questions about the updated revenue and expenditure sheets? They'll be the ones, the new ones that you have at your seat will be the ones we're referring to this evening. So let me know when you're ready, and we'll take a look at our unbalanced draft budget message, which is behind tab number 1.
And before we to the council, make sure y'all pull your mics
Oh, yes,
next
thank
to
you.
you so to make sure that everyone can hear each other, please.
If you don't talk on top of the mic, then the people who may be listening in through YouTube really cannot hear you. I have had to go back, and I know certain staff members have gone back to try to listen to see what works well and what doesn't. And there are some of you all that there are times where we can't hear you. Just like, I think Chief Williams, sometimes he's so tall, he has to get down closer to the mic at the podium in order to be heard. And I even asked Evan to do it the other day. So really being on top of the mic when you're talking is most helpful. Thank you, Mayor. Everybody ready? So you all see the unbalanced draft budget message. Bottom line, across all funds. Now that would be the general fund, excuse me, Parks and Rec fund, Powell Bill fund, water, sewer, stormwater, and electric. We are out of balance a total of $5,100,000. Let's see, let me find myself. $5,127,884. That number is on page 3 of the budget message in the conclusion section. So that means there are $5,127,884 more in requests from the various departments than there are revenues to cover them. I wanted particularly the new members of council, but council as a whole, to take a look at what this process looks like. And so the requests come in from the departments, they get entered into the system, and no cuts have been made currently. So you're seeing numbers that represent the actual requests themselves from the departments. So that means that between now and our public hearing on June the 6th, we need to balance this thing. And hopefully we'll balance it between now and Thursday night. But if we go back to the first page, I wanted to reference that the balance is the budget is unbalanced and drafted in accordance with all local government fiscal control acts and North Carolina general statutes. Items of notation should be that there is a tax adjustment included. The reduction from the 47.5 cents per $100 valuation that we currently charge has been reduced to 40 cents per $100 valuation per council instructions. Having said that, we have some updated revenue neutral numbers for you in an effort to have some further discussion about the tax rate. There are included rate adjustments, an increase of $3.50 per household account per month for sanitation, and an increase of $7 per household per month to the sewer flat rate. There are some fee adjustments proposed to our fee schedule. There are some new positions included, or requested, I should say, included, and there's also some capital outlay requests. You all were sent the what we call non-town agency requests. These are outside nonprofits not affiliated with the town that request money each year, and that is something that usually during our first workshop we will go over, and I will try to get council direction as to what you'd like to see done there. There are contributions from water, sewer, stormwater, and electric funds back to the general fund to compensate for administrative services. That is something that we do every year, and you'll see as a line item stated just that. I have included for the purpose of, or we have included for the purposes of this budget, a recommended 5% cost of living adjustment across the board for all employees, as well as a range of 1.2% to 2.4% merit for all employees. This mimics what I believe Pitt County is looking to do and is in close proximity to Greenville, though not exactly. Health insurance costs increased by 1%. We don't have the specific numbers yet, or I haven't seen them yet. And I believe dental premiums are scheduled to stay the same. Every year we contribute $25,000 to, the acronym is OPEB, but it stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits Reserve. And that's included in this budget as well. Jessica, would you like to give a quick notation about OPEB? June the 3rd. Thank you, Don. Public hearing is June the 3rd. Yeah. Whichever one of you would like to give the most update. I just wanted council to know why we fund
So
OPEB.
basically, excuse me, the other post-employment benefits is essentially a counter account for the reserve is setting funds aside for future obligations associated with benefits that'll be eligible to retirees. So several years ago, GASB come out with the new standard on how we account for this and present it on financial statements. So essentially what's happened is over time, the town committed to establishing a fund that would reduce the town's liability as as employees age or get closer to retirement, the liability increases. And it's associated with their benefits that are due those employees who actually retire from the town of Winterville. So what we did is we established this fund, set it up, and started contributing to it so that we can counter that liability financial statements. And that way the town stays in a better fiscal condition.
I believe an example of that would be if you've worked here 20 years, with your last 5 years being right before you retire, you're eligible to have the town continue to pay your health insurance, and you can stay on the plan until you reach Medicare age. And so I believe, Anthony, when they look at it and how they calculate what we would need to have in the fund, they look at all employees and assume that if all employees retired and were eligible.
We make several assumptions, I'm gonna read all of them.
Okay, gotcha. Or a large portion, I would imagine. Needless to say, most employees, a large portion probably will not retire from the town of Winterville, or will they meet the requirements to be able to continue health insurance. However, it is a good mechanism for us to have a fund there to be able to pay these monies if and when those times arise.
You'll see the auditors talk about it at the end of the year after they've audited our financial statements, and they'll present the OPEB liability number, normally very large. But there's a lot of assumptions, like I was just saying to Terry, everything from interest rates to census data of our employee population, the investment rates of return. So, I mean, there's a whole thing of a whole process that goes on through our actuarial, which is done outside of the town. We have a contract with Avalon McDonald. They do our actuarial study. That gets audited well a second time. But it's really based on a whole lot of assumptions that are used kind of industry.
Thank you. I didn't mean to catch you off guard, but I thought that was important to talk about. Continuing on, all revenues have been forecasted in a conservative manner. We usually have the help of estimates for the state collected revenues published every year by the League of Municipalities. We look at current economic trends for Eastern North Carolina, nationwide economic trends, and historical data for what we have done in the past. The proposed budget assumes a 98% collection rate for our property taxes. And our folks do an excellent job of property tax collection, and we probably got as strong a collection rate and process as anybody in the county. So you all should be proud of that. I believe we have included a slight increase for local option sales tax. And then the subject that we've all talked about and will continue to talk about this evening, the tax reappraisal that occurred this year of the ad valorem, or quote unquote real property. By law, and please excuse any typos, we must report what the revenue neutral tax rate is. We've discussed that in a previous meeting. The revenue neutral rate, and Jessica and Anthony, jump in if you see something misstated here by accident, would be the tax rate after reappraisal that would bring in an equivalent amount of money as the previous fiscal year. Tax amounts assessed and associated revenues brought in by the tax rate set by the town are calculated on a per $100 valuation on said property. As you all know, the current tax rate for Winterville is 47.5 cents. The revenue neutral rate, and we're going to present two updated numbers for you this evening. And the first is the revenue neutral tax rate for Winterville. Only real property, not including personal property, has been updated to be 33.1 cents. The revenue neutral tax rate, including motor vehicle taxes, would be 35.01 cents. So that has changed slightly from when we first discussed it. And since we last met, the county sent us the final valuation numbers on the property for Winterville, and those numbers were adjusted based off of that. The unbalanced draft budget is based at your direction on a 40-cent tax rate. The general fund is out of balance by $2,306,918. Currently, there is no fund balance appropriated to help balance the budget. The transfer that we have also talked quite a bit about from the electric fund, we just straight out transferred to the general fund, has been reduced by $300,000 to $350,000 for this draft budget. This current year that we're in included a $650,000 transfer. There are requests for new positions in general fund as well as significant capital requests. Just as a reminder, general fund departments include town council, administration, human resources, inspections, GIS, finance, information technology, planning, non-departmental, public buildings, ground and lawn maintenance, police, fire, EMS, animal control, mosquito control, public works, and sanitation. Expenses have been, they've been forecasted in a conservative manner, but I will say this. I think the requests that have come in by the departments have tried to adequately give you a picture of their needs. Unfortunately, we have a large deficit to cover. So some of these needs are going to have to be readjusted, but I do think all staff did a good job of trying to bring forward what their needs are based on current times. Some of the highlights in the general fund departments include non-town agency requests, and that's one of the items that council usually goes by request by request and votes on that so that we have a good idea what to include in the budget. The requests total $144,000, and as you all can see, the requests are as follows. The Winterville Watermelon Festival has requested $50,000. Boys and Girls Club has requested $20,000. Winterville Chamber of Commerce has requested $20,000. We also give them an in-kind office space, internet, phone usage, etc. Pitt County Council on Aging, i.e. the Meals on Wheels program, has requested $6,500. Rebuilding Together, which helps us manage our urgent repair program, has requested $15,000. The Winterville Senior Citizens Club, which is run by Beatrice Henderson, has requested $5,000. Pitt County Girls Softball has requested $18,000. And we have two new requests. One from Greenville Pitt Education Association, they have requested $2,000, and Mount Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church has requested $7,500. We give an in-kind amount. We keep the grounds, and for both the Ainge House and the depot for the Winterville Historic and Art Society, we value that in and around almost $13,000. The in-kind amount that we give to the chamber, we estimate that this is probably an outdated number, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,100. And then Shepherd Memorial Library, we don't consider them to be a non-town agency. They're more quasi-governmental in their function. They make a separate amount, a separate request in the amount this year of $176,821. For those of you all, just a reminder, the Winterville Library, the building is owned by the town, but the entire library function is run by and as a facet of Shepherd Memorial Library System. So they do make a request of us so that they can run and operate the Winterville Library. Any questions on any of those? Mayor and council will come back around to determine if you all want to discuss these tonight and then vote on them. And I'll continue on if that's okay.
Okay. Anybody have any questions? Anybody have any questions now? Do you want to continue on? Continue on.
Okay. The next fund we'll talk about is the Recreation Fund. I don't remember when that was, Anthony, but we broke out the Recreation Fund several years ago to try to track, since that department does bring in some revenue through their concession sales, et cetera. We try to track that separately, and that's why they are listed as a separate fund, though the majority of their funding comes from the general fund. The fund is currently out of balance by $471,190. An additional position has been requested, and there are some capital requests as well. There is currently no contribution to capital reserve for the multipurpose center in this draft budget. I know what you all directed me to do, but we have a $5.1 million deficit, and I at least wanted to denote it as a discussion item for this evening. So it's not lost on staff. It's just I felt like we needed further discussion. The transfer from general fund to recreation has been included for the purposes of tonight's discussion in an amount of $989,501. That is subject to change depending on how the actual recreation budget ebbs and flows between now and the time it's balanced. So then we're going to get into the enterprise fund summary. Again, enterprise funds are those funds that are utility-based usually and can make a profit. The first is the electric fund, and I start right off the bat reminding you that the transfer that we make from the electric fund to the general fund is reduced by $300,000 for this draft budget from 650 to 350. The electric fund doesn't include any requests for new positions, but there are significant capital requests included, and the fund is currently out of balance by $1,797,634. The water fund does include requests for new position, and there are capital requests. $560,000 is included for water purchases for resale. This is more than the current fiscal year we are in. And just a reminder, water purchase for resale is the water that we purchase from Greenville Utilities that we're required to purchase to then turn around and sell to our citizens. We still do make water with our wells, but many, many years ago, we were forced to reduce the amount we pull out of the ground by the central capacity, yes, the CPU. Yes, I used to could tell you no problem, but it's a set of rules and regulations that apply to this area, and we are subject to having had to reduce the amount of water we produce out of our wells, which then causes us to have to purchase from Greenville Utilities. So that's what that number means when we say purchase for resale. That the amount, the fund is out of balance currently by $243,838. The sewer fund, there is a request for new personnel. The fund is out of balance by $195,979. And please keep in mind that this is after the $7 per month per household increase in the flat sewer rate. Anthony and Cliff and staff did a great job in talking to you in your previous meeting about the state of the sewer fund budget and just the needs that are coming both in water and sewer and stormwater and electric, and the need to stay up to date and current with our rate structure. As you are aware, the town is a member of the Contentnia Metropolitan Sewerage District, otherwise known as CMSD. You hear that, we'll hear that a lot, and that performs the treatment function of our sewer system. The town pays its share based on a formula which is flow-based. Used to be several components, but it's predominantly and only flow-based now. The town's appropriation for the current budget, and that says increased, it should be decreased to $1,429,770. It's Aden, Grifton, and Winterville, and we each pay our proportionate share based on the flow we send. The stormwater fund does not include, well, it does include that, so please take out not. It does include a request for a new position, and there are also capital requests. That fund is out of balance by $232,088. So that is the overall presentation of the major points in the budget. Again, across all funds, the budget is out of balance by $5,127,884. Be happy to answer any questions that you have, but we do have several items that we want to try to talk with council about, and we're ready when you are, but I would, probably the easiest would be the non-town agencies and their requests.
Okay. That's on, behind tab 9.
Yes.
That's behind tab 9.
And behind tab
appendix.
9 is the hard copy of what I emailed you earlier.
Number 7, non-agency funding requests.
Don has done a great job. He put a table in that shows the requests, and then behind that, he shows you what was funded last year.
Right.
So that can kind of help you get a sense of what we've done in the past. what we have historically done, and again, the first sheet looks like this.
Right.
Yeah, you're there, you're almost there, Councilwoman Hawkins.
Page. Tab 7.
No, you're in the right location. No, it's the last set of documents. One more.
Oh, you ready? Start where you go back.
There you go. Excellent. Did everybody find it? You're exactly right. So this is your cover page. The second page. Other way, Miss Councilwoman Hawkins. Yep. So these are the requests that I just went over in this table, and the page behind that highlighted in yellow is what council voted to fund this current fiscal year. The one we're currently in.
All right.
Everybody together?
You will
There you
see.
go.
Right.
There you go. Everybody else good? So, Mayor, Council, I just put this forward to ask if you all are ready to vote on these. Do you have any questions about any of the requests?
I would like to see us kind of go through them by each agency, kind of have a discussion, you know, and kind of look at these if the council doesn't mind, and kind of if you to help you out, if you would probably take your 2 sheets out so you can have them in front of you, so you wouldn't have to flip back and forth like I did with mine here, so you can kind of see what we approved last year and what's coming up this year. That way you can kind of, as we go through them, you can kind of have in front of you and kind of be able to see what's going on. And before we start, I'm just gonna say, when we're looking at these non-town agency, remember, we're asking our citizens to, you know, buckle down and, asking them to give a little bit more, and they got to tweak their budgets for their household. And so keep that in mind when we're looking at these agencies, non-town agencies. We asking the citizens to give a lot. And I'm just gonna lay it out there. I'm not looking to, give a lot away if we asking the citizens to tighten up their belt. Just putting it out there. For myself, I think that's kind of wrong of us to ask the citizens to tighten up, and we're going to turn around and give non-agencies. That's just my point of view. So I'm ready to discussion started. Y'all are. You start, or you want to start?
Yeah,
All right.
I
Well,
think staff is at you all's
Okay.
pleasure.
The first one up is on page 1 is the Boys and Girls Club. The Girl Club does a great job, for the town of Winterville. You can see what they had put in our package, and they do a lot, provide a lot and whatnot. And this year, I think they're coming in asking $20,000, and last year, I think we only did $5,000.
Correct.
So that's a $15,000 increase. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly when they changed the name to encompass the coastal plain, but I think we were very specific in how, using the name that they submitted on their application.
Right.
They have I'm sorry. I was just going to say they have historically used the money that we have given them to assist with transportation.
All right, I don't know. I hope that you all can hear me. Um, so my question in terms of the Boys and Girls Club, it appears from last year to this year, it's 4 times as much. My question is, what percent of youth who resides in Winterville attends the Boys and Girls Club, as well as historically? So the Boys and Girls Club, um, we're providing funding to them. How does this accommodate the youth here in Winterville, and how can we find this out prior to approving a budget of 4 times as much? And I am a great proponent of after-school programs such as Boys and Girls Club, but I'd like to know how this is directly affecting the youth here in Winterville. In addition to that question, I'd like to know, Town Manager Parker said that they provide transportation, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Boys and Girls Club.
I believe that's correct. In their application to you, and there should also be an annual report, they should have spelled out most of those items that you referenced, Councilwoman Hawkins. I would be less than honest if I
Yes.
told you I have read these page for page. I have not. The request for 20,000 is a standard request. So most of these requests that you see from the entities, with the exception of the 2 new ones, are standard requests. In other words, they're requesting 20,000 every year, but we're only
Council,
approving 5,000.
I'm sorry, Ms. Parker, but Councilwoman Hawkins, if you look on page 4, in there behind the, page 4, it's number 18, and you will see that what you was asking about, the number that are being served, says how many clients or citizens are served or residents of the town of Winterville. That's right there at number 18. That's a good point that you brought up.
I have a direct connection with one of the directors of Boys and Girls Club. So my question for the school that I'm at, we have over close to 900 students, and about 150 to 200 of the students who attend are from my school alone. So if 122, which is 42%, the other 68% or 58% are from, do we know where they're coming from? Or how does that work? And because we're giving funding to them, and then for their town, and or if they're coming from Greenville or Aden, I know Aden has a Boys and Girls Club, what percentage are they paying? Because right now we're paying for it. It looks like 42% of ours are going, but 58% from other towns are. That was just my question for that. And I have not had a chance to read this thoroughly, as from the time that I received it, but I will definitely, give an opportunity, read it more thoroughly.
There's no requirement that you all must vote on it tonight. It may be that you all need more time. It's just been historically something that's been done, but certainly staff is at council's direction as to how you would like to handle it, and we can certainly continue to go through the requests.
Council. Mhm. Yes.
And I should have said this already, staff's recommendation is to, even though you have their request as they have requested it in your budget draft, staff's recommendation is to fund, if you're going to fund at all, to fund even levels for those that we have previously funded. Now, obviously, you have two requests that are new, but staff would ask that funding remain level for those that you have previously funded. And I don't know if that helps, but at least you know what staff's recommendation is.
I think that's good to know what the staff recommend, but as a whole, I think, of course, we need to look at them again, go line item by line item, looking at these non-town agency. And
When you
then
say
we're-
line item by
I mean,
line
yeah,
item.
not line item by line
Okay,
item,
I just
but-
want to, I want to be clear.
Yeah,
on
I'm
that.
sorry, I didn't mean it that way, but to look at each individual non-agency tonight, and then so that everybody can kind of get a gauge of where everybody's thinking. Maybe we can come back to Thursday and then put a number to it, but kind of go through it tonight, but let everybody kind of go back and look through them, and then come back on Thursday and give
Okay.
our answer. That sounds correct to everybody? But at least we'll go through them tonight, and then that way we can come back on Thursday with a number for you then, manager.
Yes, sir.
All right. So, any more questions on the boys and girls? Uh-huh.
It has been over the last few, yes. Correct. Yes. The only two, like I said, are the new ones that.
Right.
Now, the library, we handle that, even though it's listed as within the non-town agencies, we handle that a little separately, so.
Ms. Parker, she asked specifically about Pitt softball. Theirs has done this number a little bit more. I do remember, might have been last year or year before, they asked for a very high amount.
It was 2 years ago, they asked for over $100,000. And needless to say, they didn't get that. They wanted us to pay for their lights on their field. Last year, I believe, was the first year for 18, and I believe that's to pay utilities. And I believe that is the reason they are requesting the same this year.
Next up will be, Pitt Council on Aging. Do y'all see that? The council, sorry. Council.
Mayor, are you going by the old list or the new
Oh,
list?
I'm sorry. I take that back. I went by the old list. I'm sorry. It's Greenville Pitt Education Association. Thank you for correcting me.
Of course.
Yeah, thank you. Greenville Pitt Education Association Incorporated. That's the next one on the list. I'm sorry. This is one of the new ones. Page 16. I did read over this, and it's like they're doing scholarships between the two high schools. Giving out scholarships between the two high schools.
It sounds like their scholarship amounts are $500 apiece.
Yeah, $500 a piece.
I'm sorry, Mayor, but where are we? I just want to be specific.
Oh.
We were just,
On the other page.
we want, we're,
We're actually.
oh.
Because the applications are in that order.
Right.
Thank you.
And again, this is a new one that has come to us. And says it's the Greenville Pitt Education Association Incorporated Scholarship Foundation. The primary contact person is Ms. Karen Turnage, and secondary contact person is Matthew Kuntz. They're requesting a one-time request for funds of $2,000 annual.
My question is, I'm sorry, Mayor,
Yes.
can I ask
Yes.
a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So my question is, for the $2,000 requested, in this education association, will the recipients be the youth of Winterville? Oh, that's my question. And because I don't know if I had time to read through. Is it specific? Because I'm not trying to be biased, but if we're providing funding for education association, I would say the benefit should go to some achievers or those who have met great gains, youth here in Winterville.
So because we, on page 3 of their application, it does say in question 18, or the answer, that they have awarded 15 students between D.H. Conley and South Central, which serve Winterville students, but obviously are not only Winterville students. So I don't see a delineation of how that would be doled out.
Well, can I ask a question too? Because on the south end of Winterville, don't some of our students go to Aiden Griffin?
Aiden Grifton and J.H. Rose.
Aiden Griffin and J.H. Rose, okay, on the south end. So that's what, I hate to say, two high schools, but we serve more than two high schools here out of Winterville. So,
And I guess I have my questions as I'm reading through. Is this specific to high school, or is this K-12, or anybody else on the council see where this?
it looks more like, because what she's like, town manager stated, number 18, it looks like it's basically geared towards, was geared towards the two high schools between D.H. Conley and South Central. What it says here, since the inception, we have awarded 15 students attending the two high schools that are served the Winterville area.
Question 15 does state that they would award scholarships. The funds will be used to award scholarships to Pitt County high school students, but it does not, it looks like any and all high schools.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, it does. I see what you're saying there too.
And my last question is, when you're thinking about request of funds, the rationale, there a rationale, I would have to read through, what's the rationale specific for high school students as opposed to the other students who may be in need of this fund, be a scholarship for school supplies or clothing or celebration? I would have to read through and see a rationale, and then we'll come back Thursday.
Anybody else have any other questions on the Pitt County Educational Association Incorporated? If none, we'll move on to the next one, which is Mount Shallow Missionary Baptist Church. Amount requested is $7,500. And this one is a new one also, correct? Okay. And this one is, again, says, Mount Shallow Missionary Baptist Church, located at 230 Board Street in Winterville. Primary contact is Pastor, is it Charleston Cunningham? Is that Carlton? Okay, Carlton Cunningham. And secondary contact is James Godfrey Jones. And here it says, number 14 says, is this a one-time request for fund? If not, what future funding requests are anticipated? It's $2,500 yearly grant for community garden and health and wellness community outreach activity. This is the program funds will directly impact many citizens, approximately 250 individuals on a monthly basis. Fresh produce from the community garden, which can be increased based on response need of the community. And also, I read something else. Briefly describe what the grant will be used to assist the costs to correct drainage issues on the church property that impact the building, grounds, and community garden, to assist with equipping the community garden with the resources needed to provide year-round access to healthy food for those in need, and to provide health and wellness activities on an ongoing basis.
That is what I gathered from the application. But I also understood Mr. Jones to say that the drainage issues have been resolved. I don't know if there's any information to the contrary on that. Don't know how much of the 7,500 was,
Geared towards
yes, correct.
right.
We could certainly reach out if council would like us to, sure.
Yes, I think that would be, I was thinking the same thing, if we could reach out. And I'm sorry.
I would have additional questions. Who would reach out? But number 17, approximately 250 individuals on a monthly basis, I guess will be provided with fresh produce. Um, just having transparency in terms of who the 250 individuals are. Is this for like those who can't be based on their budget, or how do they meet the criteria? And then the community garden, health, wellness, community and outreach activities. Is there some sort of breakdown? And the reason why I'm asking this, so that we can be, or myself, I can be more diligent in like processing the need. And like Dr. Harrell said, if the drainage is not an issue, that helps to process if we can get confirmation. But the 250 individuals, who they are, again, back to, are they Winterville residents? Are they elderly or disabled, or just how are they selected, so that I can be more diligent in assessing, okay, this is what I feel confident in proposing.
You get that? Yeah. Right. Right. Because they had put in 7,500, so if they corrected it, then maybe the cost may drop back. Instead of 7,500, it might be 2,000. I just saying that, yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Correct. All right. Any more questions on the request for Mount Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church? If not, we'll move on to the next one, which is Pitt County, Pitt County Council on Aging. Tongue tied there. And this one, Pitt County Council on Aging is at 4551 County Home Road. Primary contact is Rich Zick and Terry. Whatever. And the amount of the request is 6,500. And says, this is not a one-time request, as senior hunger is an ongoing issue for the homebound, isolated, and vulnerable seniors who are unable to adequately care for themselves. The requested funds of 6,500 will support 4 Winterville residents from Meals on Wheels, currently waiting list of 10 residents. The cost of home delivery meal is $6.25 each for 5 days a week, which is an amount to $1,625 per, person per year. And I did do Meals on Wheel last year. Was my first time doing Meals on Wheels last year, and I got a chance to do the Meals on Wheels here in Winterville, and it makes a difference. Just to see the people faces light up when they come by, and
I'd like to make a motion. 5,500.
Second.
have a motion on the floor for Pitt County Council on Aging's request for $6,500 be approved. The motion was made by Councilman Johnny Moore, second Councilwoman Veronica Robinson. Any discussion before we move on? If none, I'll vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next up is the Pitt County Girls Softball League, asking for $18,000. And let me see here. I'm trying to see. That's bad writing on this thing.
I think the purpose is to cover their operating costs, and they specifically reference utilities, which they state are more than $18,000 a year.
Great day.
And when they try to, this has been an ongoing point of discussion, when you try to narrow down how many youth and/or folks from Winterville are being served, it is a best guesstimate. I mean, clearly there are young ladies that play in the softball league, but I don't know that we get numbers in the thousands, 1,000
Right.
plus.
If
And
if you look at on page 2, the amount of the town funds requested, number 12, it says $18,000 to pay the PCGSL electric bill for 2020, 24, 25.
I do believe that they have 1,000 plus as the number of clients/citizens served that are
Right.
residents of Winterville.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to make a motion that we fund it at the level that we funded it last year, which was $5,000, I think. Right?
Yes.
Okay. That we fund it at that level again this year.
Okay. Have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Robinson, second by Councilwoman Dr. Brandon Harrell, to fund the Pitt County Girls Softball at $5,000. Is any discussion? If none, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next up, we have Rebuild It Together, Pitt County. And Terry, I'm sorry, Manager Walker, I didn't mean to call you.
Please call me Terry.
okay.
I'm okay with
All
Terry.
right. We budget $15,000. Now, is any carryover? Did we use any funds?
So I was going to explain the
Okay, all right,
relationship with
okay.
Rebuilding Together. So they're a nonprofit group in Pitt County and actually nationally, but in Pitt County that they provide housing repair assistance to those in need throughout Pitt County. The town of Winterville has a separate urgent repair fund, and that provides around $5,400 to up to $5,400 to folks that live in Winterville, own their home, are 62 years of age or older, and are updated on both their town and county taxes. If you go through the Winterville program, they have to be declared urgent needs. Rebuilding Together is our partner. They do all of the income verification. They actually ascertain what the needs are and if they are actually urgent needs. That is funded separately. So that's funded through the town. So what Rebuilding Together is asking for in their non-town agency requests is a separate request that would help them with their program throughout Pitt County, including Winterville. But it's not going to be Winterville specific like it is with the urgent repair program.
Okay.
That is only Winterville.
Okay.
So in our partnership, and due to the nature of the difficulty in people being able to get assistance with their various housing needs, this is one that we feel like is important because of the relationship that we do have with Rebuilding Together.
Okay. Again, this is a Rebuilding It Together, Pitt County, and P.O. Box 31006 in Greenville, North Carolina. Primary contact person is Michael Murphy, the executive director. Second contact person is Reed Peterson. He's the president. If you look back at the non-town agencies from 23 to 24, we did $10,000. So, and this year they're asking for 15,000.
15 last year.
Yes, ma'am.
Funded.
That's right.
Yes, and actually, a benefit to the citizen, we get $10,000 out of it. You know,
Absolutely.
when, of course, this is motion that we funded at 10,000. We have a lot of people on the board. I think that we funded at the level that we had last year. That's fine. And everything. At 10,000.
Second.
Okay. Have a motion made by Councilwoman Robinson, second by Councilwoman Smith, to fund Rebuild It Together at $15,000. I mean, I'm sorry, I thank you all. Revert back to $10,000. Now, before we vote, any discussion?
Rebuilding together in Pitt County, the program that they have, we have not had opportunity yet to get somebody active with us and helping us out with
As you and I discussed earlier on the phone, and I think I reported to council, they have a new executive director. And so we are needing to schedule a meeting together, and it's not really on him, it's on me, because I've been tied up working on budget. So as soon as I'm free to set a meeting with him, and I have not met him yet, then certainly we will get together. I will talk about the applications we have and get the program back up and going. I think I also reported to council that previously they used volunteers for the work. I think COVID probably really put a damper on that, so they are actually using contractor work. Obviously, they're able to get it at a much lower price than the average citizen. And there is some pro bono work, if you will, that some of these contractors do as well. But, so the program's changed a little bit, but still strong and moving forward.
So the earliest that we would have the opportunity to have that meeting is once we finish with the budget. That would be sometime in June.
No, I just needed to get the budget drafted so I can free up some of my time, and then I can certainly get a meeting scheduled with them. I've got the same thing going on with the Animal Services Director with Pitt County.
Good. And you need some hours here. Okay.
I'm hoping,
Let me leave that alone, because you don't move like that without me, okay?
I hope to at least have a meeting date scheduled and have met with him by mid-June.
I mean, good.
Yes.
Any more discussion before we call for the vote? If not, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried to fund Rebuild It Together at $10,000. Next up is the Winterville Chamber of Commerce. Winterville Chamber of Commerce, mailing address is P.O. Box 1815, Winterville, North Carolina. Primary contact is Rebecca Cavanis as the Executive Director. Person is
Gotta hold it down, Mayor. Not the mic, the button.
check one. I just want to see you walk over here, Evan. Okay, all right. Last, their request is, $700 in kind. Last year was funded at $20,000 and $1,100 in kind. And I think the $20,000 is basically, did I read it, that it's mostly a salary,
It's
Salary.
It's a large portion of the director's salary.
director's salary?
And she is part-time,
Yes, part-time,
but she works a lot, so.
excuse me. I'm sorry. She is a great ambassador for the, she stay on the go more than I do, so, and she's everywhere. And so, I have a motion on the floor by Councilwoman Smith, second by to fund the Winterville Chamber at $20,000 and $1,100 in kind. Any discussion?
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
In terms of the marketing and advertising, I would like to know, I know that the Chamber of Commerce is present during openings of buildings, and perhaps on their website, they are sharing new businesses. I would like to know, and I don't know if I need to direct this to them, how are new small businesses within Winterville being advertised, being promoted by the Chamber of Commerce? I've had several small business owners ask me that. And so now this is the perfect time for me to.
Can I say something about that? Last week, I was privileged to attend a roundtable with Elaine Marshall, our Secretary of State, on ECU's campus. And while there, I didn't know what I was going to. I really didn't. I just went, to see what was gonna happen, what it was about. And there were 4 new entrepreneurs, as I said the word right, there from Winterville. And these people who spoke, these young people, was everything from exercise for kids to the baby formula. The baby formula girl was from, that is, developed a baby formula. And then there was about 1 or 2. But every one of those new business owners said that they were able to do what they're doing, or they were helped by the Chamber of Commerce. Now, I didn't ask for that, and I was impressed by that. They said that they helped them with the state forms, helped them with the permits and other things in the area, besides just the part that I knew, which was connecting them with other businesses. And I really was impressed by that. Rebecca was there too. So those are some things that I feel like, well, sometimes I feel like if I don't know something, everybody else doesn't know it. But some of you probably knew it, but I didn't realize that there were so many permits and stuff like that, paperwork that goes along with opening a new business.
Yes.
I had no idea. I figured you got a good idea. Maybe you get a permit from town, that's it. But the chamber actually functioned with them and helped them be successful in their business. So I just want to add that.
Yes, I did meet, I'm sorry. I did meet some of the people that you're talking about at a chamber event at the depot, the young lady that developed the formula. Speaking of, she was a member and that I met. And as far as what you was asking, Councilwoman Hawkins, I think Rebecca will be glad to sit down with you and kind of, explain that to you. She's in touch with you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That was just a question in approval of a budget. And then secondly, I will speak to Ms. Rebecca Cavanagh in terms of how we can integrate our website or amplify the Chamber of Commerce on our website, which more residents go to more frequently as opposed to the Chamber of Commerce, and I feel like that would help. So that was my question. That was the purpose of my question.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes.
I think once the website and it's moving right along is in complete and the new one is, or the updated one is ready to go, then we can put the chamber's link as a few others on our website. So, smiling. Okay, good.
Okay. All right. Okay, now I call for the vote. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Next up is the Winterville Historical and Art Society and Depot. They're asking for $7,150.
Actually, they're in-kind services. They're our estimates.
Okay.
They would like us to continue to maintain the grounds of both the Ainge House and the Depot, as we've been doing, keep things looking nice and neat. And so we certainly do have a great relationship with them. They allow the town to use for town functions the Depot at no cost. And we have certainly, with some of the legal actions that we have been dealing with more recently, have utilized the Depot quite a bit for depositions and things of that nature. I anticipate that will continue. So we do have a good collaborative working relationship.
Second.
Excuse me. I have a motion made by Dr. Randy Harrell, second by Councilwoman Lisa Smith, to fund the Winterville Historical and Art Society Depot at an in-kind of $7,150. Any discussion? If none, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Next up is the Winterville Historical Arts Society and Museum.
I'd go ahead and move that we fund the Winterville Historical and Art Society Museum at an in-kind fee of $5,775.
Have a motion made by Councilwoman Smith, second by Councilwoman Dr. Brandon Harrell, to fund the Winterville Historical Art Society and Museum at $5,775 of in-kind. Any discussion? If none, please vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Next up is the Winterville Senior Citizen Club. All right. And their request is for $5,000. And
That is a standard request, but we have historically funded 3,500.
I'd like to make a motion that we award citizen.
Second.
have a motion made by Councilman Johnny Moore, second by Councilwoman Ms. Ms. Hawkins, Councilwoman Hawkins, to fund the Winterville Senior Citizen Club at $3,500. Is that correct? Any discussion?
I just have a question about the in-kind of 2,700 last year. It's,
I think we neglected to put that up there. They have historically utilized the community room at no cost.
Okay.
And assuming, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I would like to get verification that council would like to continue that piece of the relationship.
okay, so do we need to include that in the recommendation because it's not noted
Yes,
here?
we would, yes.
We need to amend that
Yeah,
motion.
if you would like to amend that, Johnny?
Yes, I'd like to amend the
Thank you.
Councilwoman Hawkins, or you?
Second.
Okay, all right. So the amended motion should state that Winterville Senior Citizen Club, $3,500 with a $2,700 in-kind.
I thought that the town manager, your request was to discuss the in-kind.
We just neglected to put it on the chart.
Right.
Okay.
Which I think we included it last year,
Okay.
on last year's chart. So I'm glad that it was brought up. And so, no, not discuss it.
There's no discussion. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Next up is the Watermelon Festival.
I'd like to make a motion.
He can make the motion, and then we can go to discussion.
I'd like to make a motion that we award the Winterville Watermelon Festival the amount of $50,000.
I will second.
Have a motion made by Councilman Moore, second by Councilwoman Smith, to fund the Winterville Watermelon Festival at $50,000. Now, any discussion? Ms. Robinson?
Just that if we ever decide to change this, we need to change it way ahead of time. You know, like early, because they plan the festival, and they, the group that works, and they're volunteers, so we gotta honor that. That if we ever think about changing this, we change it before budget time, well before budget time.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're a year ahead.
Your head?
Yeah, so. Correct.
25.
Okay.
I think you make a good point, though, because we worked hard to try to get on that schedule, and then we got messed up one year when it was an anniversary, I think. They came back twice and asked us, we ended up giving them 75,000, if I'm not mistaken. Though, the Watermelon Festival, it has become a large expenditure for us, and that doesn't include everything the town staff does. That's a separate cost. I mean, Anthony, what do you anticipate the last time you calculated? And that's plus the 50.
And salary. Still,
Yes.
still on the clock. Most of it, and overtime. Right. So,
But one thing that I can say, and I don't know, I do believe that it has promoted our town tremendously through the years, having the festival, bringing in people from even out of town. And I found out there were some that, and even now, I want to live in Winterville. Because what y'all have in place, the things that y'all have for our community, and the way that it's looked, and how safe it is. You know, and you put all that together, and then our safety department, I'm talking about EMS and fire department, put all that together, and then our staff that we have here, that adds to all that we do also is for Watermelon Festival. Now, as Moore always said that, you know, and the reason why, because I have to see, and I begin to see the growth, and I have seen a change. And it just didn't happen because of one thing. It took a collective of things to make it to happen. So that's the reason why you see a different view in the way I look at different things.
okay, I think when they came and met with us in the last meeting, I asked a question about can they start being self-sufficient? I'm just a component of that because I said earlier, we asking our citizens to tighten their belt again. I know this is a great activity for this community, but again, you know, we're asking the citizens to tighten up, you know. And I know it's hard to get sponsorship, but everything else is hard, but we got to do it. And is the participation as far as crowd going up, or is participation of crowds going down? I don't know how you gauge that. Chief or Chief Williams, y'all are always out there. Do y'all see participation in crowds up or down?
Speak loudly, Chief.
Cooling tent? Oh, concession stand? Uh-huh. I was just asking that question because I think that, Ms. Robinson, you make a great point. It's something that I think this board and any other board coming along, I think we need to look at that. We need to probably sit down with the festival people and really talk about that, because this is something that needs to be addressed.
And it is. I've heard lots of positive things about it being such a family-friendly, safe environment for the festival. And that's because of our employees, our police, other police, the sheriff, and all those that are there, and our citizens, because they're keeping it together. But I said it when I first got elected, and I'll say it again. I agree with you, Mayor. I would like for it to become more self-sufficient because we're right now, so many times we got to look at rent. We don't need to put any more expenditures on our.
Okay, so we have the motion on the floor.
I have a,
Question.
so in terms of the Watermelon Festival, I don't know if there is a specific list that this requested funds, is it listed out? Exactly what the funds are being used for specifically versus the revenue? And then what revenue comes back to the town? That's just my question.
There is a budget that's included in all requests. But it's my understanding they use it just in their general operations, and not in any specific one area. I don't know if that helps or not.
So I don't know if I'm reading this correctly, page 99. Sorry, page 91.
Page what?
Page 91. So with looking at I think this is the Watermelon Festival. So if I'm looking at prior year, looking at the budget total, 147,284. Non-town revenue, 111,341. Is that, and then the funds were 50,000. So would that be 161,341 revenue for the Watermelon Festival, or what portion of the my question is, what portion of the revenue goes back to the town, and where's that indicated, so that we can see cost versus expenditure for us, and if this, is feasible to continue as we speak about increases on our citizens, just so that can be transparent for them. If this is indicative, if somebody could point that out to me.
Councilwoman Hawkins, if you look at page 96, look at page 96. I don't know if that's going to help you, breakdown. See the breakdown there. That's Watermelon Festival, page 96. That kind of shedding the light to what you want.
With looking at the list of what comes in and expenses, I don't see what's coming back to.
When you say to the town, you mean the organization or just?
Our town. What's coming back to?
Nothing. $70,000+ in in-kind services and $50,000 cash are going out.
I mean, I will say you have some intrinsic things that go along with it. it's not an actual payment back to the town. Marketing, marketing goes along, reflecting the town as well as sales tax. But it's gonna be marginal. I mean, there's no way to differentiate how much of the sales tax goes on here that's associated with traffic coming into town. But the biggest attribute is gonna be marketing of the town. As far as the actual dollar figure that comes back that says, this is our return on our investment, really doesn't.
Ultimately, the core of the watermelon highlight our town.
Councilwoman, could you slide?
So the ultimate, I guess, core or focus or scope of the festival, yearly festival, is to highlight Winterville, to get more residents in. And then I know there was a motion on the floor, but I just need to say to get more residents in. But then when we're charging residents more, I'm gonna leave it at that.
I think it is a historical fun time had by all, those that live here and those that don't, just like any other festival. I would say, and this is just a point of clarification, in 2010, I was the assistant town manager, and I was charged with looking at this process and making a recommendation to the council then. I had done the same thing in Greenville years ago. I recommended at that point that we do away with non-town agency funding. I don't know that my core recommendation has changed over the years, but I do understand the desire to want to do that as a council. I would say, though, that the $144,000 in requests are just over 1 cent on the tax rate. And I just throw that out there as a point of discussion. Not that these organizations, Watermelon Festival, et cetera, aren't wonderful organizations and aren't worthy. It's just going to be a continual challenge as time goes on, as new entities come on board and ask for funding. We've never capped it. We've never said this is all that we're going to consider moving forward. So I just throw those things out just as a point of clarification as we have this discussion, because this is something we do discuss every year, and particularly what we're giving to the Watermelon Festival, because when I came in 2009, and Anthony, correct me, I think we were giving them historically and annually around 25,000. So in, let's just say, just shy of 15 years, it's gone up to 50. And in 1 year, I know we gave them 75 when they came back and asked for additional funding. I just throw that out there.
All right, we do have a motion on the floor. So call for the vote. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried to fund the Watermelon Festival, $50,000. Great discussion, council. Next up, we have Shepherd Memorial Library for Winterville Shepherd Memorial Library for the Winterville Public Library, $176,921.
So folks, that is a slight increase. The previous 171,768, I believe last year's amount was the same amount for either 2 or 3 years in a row. So it is certainly not an what am I trying to say? An outrageous ask. It is slightly above what they have received previously. I think everybody would agree that they do a great job. They certainly save us a big headache from having to try to perform that function ourselves. And Councilman Moy, I know you're on the board. Councilwoman Robertson was on the board for a long time. They get to see the inner workings and hopefully would agree with everything I'm saying and more.
Our library is a bargain. This money here pays the salaries of the people that work there. This money here does not buy books for our library. Our books, our recordings, computers, and all that comes from the sheriff. Go over there and see the number of computers and the people using them, the job searches, and different things like that, you can see it's well worth it. You go over there and see families walking out with lots of books. And so it's a good value to our community. And we could not have this if it were not for our partnership with Shepherd. So I would like to make the motion that we fund our library with $176,921.
Second.
Have a motion on the floor and a second motion made by Councilwoman Robinson, second by Councilwoman Hawkins to fund the library at $176,921. Any discussion? If none, all vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
So folks, it's my understanding we will come back Thursday night and discuss the top three.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say.
Okay?
We would talk about the Boys and Girls Club of the Coastal Plains. We would discuss the Pitt, Greenville Pitt Education Association Incorporated and Mount Shallow Missionary Baptist Church. Those are the three that will come back on Thursday after everybody has a chance to look over the information. And I think you will be getting some information that you'll be able to send out to us, correct?
Yes, if I get those answers back
Right.
tomorrow, I will send those out accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
And I purposefully kept my mouth shut when it came down to Mount Shallow. That's the church that I belong to. So I feel like there's a conflict. So
The question will be on the watermelon festival. Again, go back to the incline that we were talking about, the cost like for, security, safety, even the lights and current stuff. It's hard to bear to do something like that, isn't it? Because we really do not know exactly what the incline amount would be. Because I think you made a statement that the incline was approximately like 60,000.
We actually went through and we used this festival, we used it as a dry run for a natural disaster. And so we went through and had everybody document man hours as if it were a hurricane event or some other type of natural disaster. One, that gave us some experience in filling out forms and getting everything populated and sending back up to finance. But it also gave us the opportunity to educate some of our new employees. And then on the back end, gave us the opportunity to prepare for the next storm. But in doing that, we used this event to calculate what those costs are. Now, some of that cost, our equipment costs, are based on FEMA rates. So, some of that cost is, and we can bring that exact number Thursday night. That would be helpful. She brought it with us. So it was $61,611.24. So that was across electric, public works, parks and rec, police, and fire and EMS. That doesn't include, all the volunteers that come out and help as well. There's really no cost for that, but they save us a lot of money by coming out and assisting. And then there's mutual aid agreements and things of that nature that go in there too. So we have the sheriff department and other law enforcement entities come out to assist. But we return the favor to them as well at other events. And so, long story short, we did get a good number based on, our man hours and the opportunity to kind of prepare for our next storm event and look at how those processes work and then bringing it back and then applying it to our rates for our employees as well as our equipment.
I got a question about two things in the budget. I saw sidewalk construction. Which sidewalks are gonna be done? I saw that budgeted. I pulled it out of the book, so I don't know what page it is in. But it was $80,000 in here for sidewalks, and I just want to know what sidewalk. And I'm glad to see that you were working, that we were gonna improve the lighting over in the Ops Center. Because during election time, it gets really dark over there. And downtown park. So, say something good about your budget. Those two things, I really
something
feel
positive.
like we need. Yeah,
So one of the things with, when it comes to sidewalks, we knew we wanted to put money in there. But the study on the grant that we just applied for, when we get that back, we also have a plan that was adopted a long time ago, so we'll go back and look at that, pull off the highest priority. That was established 2018, I believe, don't hold me to that. But that study that was done has some areas that could use some improvement. The biggest one that everybody, really wanting is the one on Mill Street. That's over $800,000 sidewalk. So, that's a huge project as far as, sidewalk construction expense goes. We've never spent that kind of money on sidewalks. And it is the NCDOT street, so it's not even our own street. So it's important to try to get that street with the sidewalk, but we want to get the NCDOT to assist and help do their part. I mean, it's their street.
Yes,
So we're working on that process diligently, and an opportunity came up this week. We went out there, it didn't work out, but we're trying, and we're constantly trying to get that, and it's never not on the top of our radar.
All right. Will be on, do I need to make a motion for the incline service for the water?
No, sir, that's a line item in the budget. In non-departmental, I believe. Oh, that's it.
Okay, incline.
Yes, there is, she's correct, there is another line item in the budget, another 10,000 for supplies and materials, so if there's a bank of transformers or, equipment, boards, or whatever it needs to, if we need to go move a fence, so it doesn't hit the recreation department's budget, things of that nature, we'll charge it to that. So all the food, feed the employees, all the water to keep them hydrated, renting gators, all those miscellaneous items, there is a $10,000 line item for that gets put back. So 71.
Okay, so then, does that need to be voted? Or you wanna wait until then? And be identified as an incline.
That's not a bad idea, Councilman Moy, actually. If you want to go ahead and do that this evening on the in-kind services, we can add that to the chart.
Thousands.
$61,611 for incline service for the water manifest. That's my motion.
Have a motion on the floor by Councilman Moy. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second. The motion is that, we do in-kind service of $61,611. Motion made by Councilman Moy, second by Councilwoman Robinson. Any discussion?
Yes, I
Discussion.
have a question. So the 61,000 in kind is in addition to the 50,000.
Correct.
So,
So if you go back on the chart and where like a chamber, we've got 20,000 plus 1,100 in kind. On the chart, it would be 50,000 plus $61,611 in kind.
okay, I just,
And I think we haven't voted on it before, sorry, Anthony. I think documenting it is a good idea.
So, and then you do have the $10,000 line item that covers miscellaneous expenses. But that is normally adopted in the non-departmental budget, as Terry mentioned earlier. So you want to put it all in one spot so it's there. I mean, that might not be a bad idea.
Got discussion here.
I'm sorry, and this number will change, right? So, you're looking at cost of living raises for employees, fuel costs change. So all these things, this is a flexible number, but it is an estimate. So I just want to make sure, based next year, while we're basing this on last year's numbers, next year's numbers will be different.
But I want to make sure that we show the 50,000 as Councilwoman Farmer Dr. State. That's a project that's town, and we want to make sure we sit down and talk to them about a sustainability plan to start with. So when we're able to actually get
I do know that in times past, probably before Rebecca's time, that has been requested and discussed. And the amount went up. So I certainly think we can get together and chat with them and let them know that council is talking about and interested in a long-term sustainability plan. And if I may, we'll report back how that meeting goes.
If there's no other discussion, anybody else have any discussion on this? If not, there's a motion, and now it's call for the vote. All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carry. In favor, showing this as an in-kind. All right. Well, we come to the point now where we're going to recess this meeting.
Can I do one more thing
Yes,
before
yes,
we
ma'am.
call it a night? I know we've been at it a while.
Okay.
I would like to get this tax rate discussion off the table.
Okay.
That will make a big difference in how we go forward between now and Thursday. Jessica and staff put together,
Terry,
oh, I'm sorry.
can we recess for 1 second?
Oh, we can recess for as long as y'all want
I
to.
need to go to the first one.
Just, please come back.
Me. I got the air conditioner. I can feel it blowing now. Yeah, it's on. Yeah, when it first, it almost smelled like WD-40 or something. I wonder if they added Freon. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so, if we're ready, Mayor.
Yes, we're back in session, I'm sorry.
Okay, so, finance staff put together, sort of an addendum to the comparison sheet that you have in your appendix. And we wanted to find out what area folks were proposing so we could kind of see where our proposal stood. Now, what you don't have the benefit of is the other entities' revenue neutral numbers. We've reached out to those places and hope to hear back, and we'll report those accordingly. But as you can see, Ayton is not looking to propose any type of decrease in their property tax rate. Greenville is proposing to reduce theirs from 48.95 cents to 38.95 cents. Farmville from 49 cents to 46 cents. Obviously, ours from 47.5 cents to 40 cents, and then Pitt County 68.41 cents to 56.65 cents. The reason that I've handed this out is, again, we drafted the budget off of a 40-cent tax rate. I want to know if council would consider a higher tax rate. And I ask that just wanting you to see what other places were doing. Remind you that in the general fund specifically, we're $2.1 million in the hole. In the general fund, there are, let's see, 2 full-time positions, 2 part-time positions, and a 1 reclassification that has been requested, and capital request in the amount of $1.9 million. That's in general fund. Total capital request across all funds are $3,457,202, and a total of 6 positions, including the ones I just referenced. 6 full-time positions have been requested, 2 part-time positions, and 1 reclassification. I say all of that to say this: even if you kept the tax rate the same, it is not going to cover the deficit in general fund. We have a lot of needs. I don't think any of these requests are outrageous, but there's a lot of them, and there's just no way we're going to be able to fund most of them if we stay at 40 cents. Not trying to pressure you, not trying to carry you somewhere that I think it's easy to go. I understand. I think we all understand the challenge that you all have before you. But again, it's the picture of where we are. So.
What is your,
It's not, I'm thinking.
oh, okay.
I mean, I wish you would stay where we are at 47.5. However, that's a big ask, I realize. That's where we need to stay, but I understand the kind of heat that's going to come from staying there. I think we all do. That doesn't cover, that won't hire all the positions, that won't get all the capital requests in there, but it would make a big dent. It would be great if you'd go to 42. It would be even better if I would recommend 45. But I prefer you stay at 47.5, but I realize that's a big ask.
Are we at a point for discussion?
Yeah, you can, yeah.
So with looking at the proposed rate and or the suggestion for the rate of an increase, and looking at the budget overall and the various funds out of balance and out of balance and out of balance and out of balance, being new on the council, my question is, what has caused all of this out of balance? How can this be corrected specifically, plan of action. Don't have to be this year, but plan of action. And then I'm going right back to everything's out of balance, and if we increase taxes and we're increasing utility bills and sewer rates and stuff for trash, that ultimately is needed, and it won't even balance it out, then we're going right back to the multi-purpose center. I don't know, we're gonna talk about that Thursday, but I'd like to roll up my sleeves and honestly see what we can do to get a scope of where we're going. But my question is, what happened? Why is this so out of bounds?
So nothing happened. Keep in mind, the $5.1 million is in requests over the amount of revenue we have to cover it. If that makes sense. So the requests from the departments have come in at $5.1 million more than the revenue we anticipate to bring in
Thank you.
at a 40-cent tax rate.
So
Yes.
the 5.1 million is a request for maybe additional staff or different
Correct.
equipment or
Yes,
services that is needed
yes,
over what we in
correct.
is what is. Thank you.
That's why you see out of balance. So this is the draft budget. Law says we have to produce a balanced
Yes.
budget. But I felt like as a new council, you all needed to see the work that goes into trying to determine what can you afford to keep in the budget, what do departments have to go back and cut? And historically, they're cutting requested positions that they need. They're cutting equipment that they desperately need, and street paving and sidewalks and all of the things that we're glad to see in the budget. But a lot of those things aren't going to get done. And it's not because we're not financially in good shape, but we just need more revenue. And that's really the only way that we're going to cover these needs. Now, that obviously can't all happen in a year, but
Right. Lastly, with the request of the proposed budget for 5.1 million, I don't see anything about the multipurpose center. What do we do with that?
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So there is nothing, as I stated earlier, included because we're already at a $2.1 million deficit in general fund. General fund pays, I don't know, the majority proportion of Parks and Rec. So regardless of where we put it, we're still grappling with a over $2 million deficit in general fund. That's at a 40-cent tax rate. So I wanted to discuss it. I know you all charged staff with putting something in for multipurpose, but I didn't put a number in there because I wanted us to talk about where we were with this large deficit that we have to cover. Does that make sense?
Yes. Will we discuss that further Thursday night?
Yeah, if it doesn't get discussed tonight, definitely Thursday.
Any more discussion? And what is the pleasure of the board as far as the tax rate so that the manager can determine how to set the budget? What is the pleasure?
The question that I had,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
my question was, it was suggested that we decrease the rate. Is that correct? From 4.0 to accommodate, I think what was the purpose of it?
Yeah, so, well, the revenue neutral is a different is a calculation based off the changes in the property value.
That's correct.
What we were trying to do, where the 40 cent came in at, was we were trying to make up the deficit from last year's budget that was associated with the $650,000 transfer from the electric fund, the $600,000 use of fund balance, and the $510,000 that was funded from an external funding source, i.e. bank loan, to purchase equipment. So that 40 cent only, as you may recall, when I presented it, was only to get us to get out of that deficit. What you see, the reason you have a bigger gap tonight is because you're seeing the requests that have come in from the department heads and the needs that they've identified that the town has to achieve the goals that we feel like need to be achieved.
It's a tall order, and I think that we are blessed to be in a growing community, because if we weren't in a growing community, we wouldn't be talking about the kinds of things we're talking about, but at the same time, we wouldn't be seeing, we'd have a different issue. We'd have all these costs on the backs of just a stagnant population. So I only say this is I think staff, and we've talked a lot about it, collectively, individually, we understand that you have a tall order in front of you, and we don't take that lightly. When we come with these recommendations, with these deficits, yes, we do the work, but we also understand that you all have a tall order. We have a lot to build on to continue to grow and be as successful as we are as a town. But it's going to take continued hard decisions. If I understand correctly, and Jessica and Anthony, tell me if I'm right. So a penny on the tax rate's around 127 or 129. So if we kept it at 47.5, if we calculated that? Oh. That will only bring in around $952,500. We've got a $2.1 million deficit. So what that means is, and what already is going to need to happen, the staff's going to have to go back and make cuts. Now, can we survive? Yes. But that's what we've been doing. So when we talk about changes in service, when we talk about these things that we really came, we came to you this year and we asked you to consider, that will continue. So can we survive? Yes. But it will continue to get harder and harder and harder as the growth comes, particularly in light of the planned unit development, the 600 and anyway, the large swath of land that's bringing 600 housetops, right? Thank you. In addition to all of the other development that gets approved on an ongoing basis. So it's the challenge that we have to continue to roll out the services, getting it done. But we have 90 funded positions. That's it. For right at 11,000 population and growing. So. If you tried to do it, yes, to cover the entire deficit, yes. But I realize that you can't do that all in 1 year. It's going to take a build, and staff's going to have to make some cuts. And I don't think anybody here is surprised by that statement.
I realize it's a very difficult, heard it for years.
I'm sure you have.
And I get it. I get it from both ends. We did recently go up on fees for sewer. Initially, the staff recommendation was the 40 cent per $100 valuation. Left it at 7.5 cents per $100. We're still running a deficit. We're still going to have to buckle our belts. I think on these things, it's very difficult if we each think about our and what we're paying. It is a very difficult thing, and I realize it's going to be really hard for staff and for us to turn that belt another notch. The original recommended 40 cents per 100 valuation.
Are you making that a motion? Councilwoman?
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if we don't have a decision made tonight, then Thursday is a moot point because we don't know which budget to work off of and start cutting, correct?
Well, we're gonna work off this budget. So with no change, it stays at 40, as you all directed us, and that's what we'll start immediately in the morning, making cuts off of.
I may be over, but then I make the motion that we reduce our tax rate from 47.5 cents per $100 valuation to 40 cents per $100 valuation.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Have a motion made by Councilwoman Smith, second by Councilman Johnny Moore, to reduce the rate to 40.4%.
40 cents.
40 cents. Any discussion?
Yes.
Council.
The deficit you see in your budget message encompasses what things look like at 40 cents. That's correct. I mean, it would lessen the current request. And if I could just say this, it would be easy to think that our budget contains a lot of fat, and I'm here to tell you, it does not. There's no living large in our budgets of many, many recent years, and I think Anthony would agree. We've always been conservative in our recommendations. Having said that, it would get us closer to funding some of the requests, but it will not fund all of the requests. And we're talking about general fund predominantly. I mean, those things don't even address the requests that have come in out of water, sewer, stormwater, and electric. And again, we're still in the deficit after you've raised the sewer rate $7. That's because there are a lot of needs. But they're just gonna have to go in there and cut some of those needs. But this staff is excellent at doing that. They know how to make it work. It just doesn't make it easy. So I would ask this, if we're headed towards staying where we are, then please keep our recommendation for cost of living and merit as it's been presented, because we need to take care of our folks that we do have, and we have excellent benefits, and we have excellent health insurance and excellent dental. And we were really fortunate this year to get some rates that were really good. So we're happy to absorb the increases, slight increases that cover dependent coverage and that kind of thing. But we just need to make sure we take care of our folks that are here.
And I think that would be a #1 priority. Terry, you said that since like 2009, you have recommended that this council stop funding non-town. I mean, we just did another $144-ish thousand. So, it's our mouths. there, and I realize, you know, there are sidewalks that one would love to have in place and some things, but things that we want, but we have to meet our needs first. And to be honest, I mean, by the time you get your tax bill from Pitt County and it's gonna be hard for residents. And we can go, and I know staff, I get it. It's hard, and we've not had a tax increase in this town and many, many, many years, and we've been able to tout that we had the lowest tax rate forever. We're now going to be the second lowest, no matter what we do, whether we go to stay at the 47.5 or what. We're going to be second, but we got to.
Councilman Moore, you have any discussion or call for the vote?
Love to, just to bring to the table with you on Thursday night. Some numbers for the reserve for the multi-purpose. Just to put something in it, just to look at it. Just to leave it blank, you know, you don't show me anything, but if you show me something, say, okay, if I put in so many dollars towards that, and then I sort of look at the multi-purpose building anyway, so like the recreation park. It's going to be part of that. And I got a crazy vision, and my vision is to, if we could combine both of those together some sort of way, if we have to, at least 1 year, to take away some sort of activity for 1 year, just to bring this into existence, not resistant, existence.
Gonna take more than one activity.
Well, we're hoping by then we'll have some grant, we have everything in place, but this right here will help us have something in place working towards growth into that program.
Again, if you had it built on the ground, ready to go today, this Parks and Rec, no offense, Diane, this Parks and Rec department couldn't run it. They have 5 people full-time. And please don't.
And I totally agree with you. There's a slogan saying that you got your shovel ready. I mean, if you don't have anything in place, and if you don't have some sort of foundation built or prepared, you can't build on it.
Well, please don't get me wrong. I did not include it because I don't think it's, not because I don't see it as important. I do, but it's a discussion item. And if you're asking me to include something, are we talking about 25,000? Are we talking about 50, 75, 100? Everything that we put towards that, I got to take from somewhere else. I don't mind doing that. Staff might mind doing that, but those cuts are going to have to come anyway. So it would be great if y'all give me some idea of what you're looking to see, because I don't want to bring 25,000 back and then everybody's offended because it's not enough money.
I'd just like to see something, if I can, that I can look at and then compare it to say, it can be 10,000, it can be 20, I mean, it makes, 10,000 don't look like it's enough to, you know, dig a ditch.
10,000 more than we had to start with.
That's what I'm saying. It's we headed in the right direction. We build some sort of foundation. Basically, that's what I'm saying. I like to see at least something showing that decide that we got a piece of land over there that we already done paid for, and that we do have a vision of doing something with it. Now, have we started yet preparing for kind of future growth besides just owning that piece of
The
land?
answer is yes, and that is putting out the request for proposals in Parks and Rec for the 2 plans that are going to be required, the comprehensive plan, comprehensive master plan, and the site-specific master plan. And site-specific plan is for that project specifically. So, yes, to answer your question, I think we're taking steps towards those things with the sole vision of trying to move forward with the project. And I'll be more than happy to put a number in there.
Oh, no, just in case I'm down the road that it might say that, listen, we ready to offer you a grant, but it's gonna have to be a matching grant. And then we might have a little something that we can just pull from there instead of having to go out journal funds or go and put someplace else or say, oh my God, we don't even have the funds for grant.
The only reason I didn't put a number in there is because we're already $2.1 million in the hole. So that's just adding to the hole. Hoping to bring a balanced budget back to
Right.
you Thursday. I don't know
Well-
as it stands, wait just a second. I don't know if that's going to happen by Thursday night. So then we'll need to talk about what happens after Thursday, but I just want to be realistic with everybody.
This discussion here is, I understand what you're saying, Councilman Moore, but again, remember, we're already in a deficit. And I understand that we're in a deficit, but you're asking to put something there that we don't even have. And that number can't be attained till we fill in the hole. Right now, we're in a hole. And, I think I'm with you. I want to see the multipurpose center done. But right now is to get us out of this hole. We're gonna stay at 40 cents. We're slowly climbing out, but we're still there. And we still got to find how to balance this budget. And that means that I heard Terry talk about that, and I'm saying the same thing. I'm old country boy. We got to trim some fat. But you saying there ain't no more fat. So-
I welcome any of you all to go find it.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. I was gonna get to that. You said there is no fat. So that means where we gonna find the money to put there when there is no? That's what I'm saying. And if she goes and put it there, we still gonna be out of balance. I'm just asking that question. We still gonna be it's still gonna be out of bounds. So, I don't know. I mean, that's a. Well, right now, we have a motion on the floor. The motion is to maintain the rate at 40%. So I call for the vote, and I ask you to vote by raising your right hand if you're in favor of this motion that was made by Councilwoman Smith, second by Councilman Moore. Please raise your right hand. We have 3. All opposed, raise your right hand. 3-2, motion carried to maintain the rate at 40%. That's it. That's 40 cents what she did. What she drafted the budget on was 40 cents, correct?
For the current tax rate right this second is 47.5 cents.
Right.
You all directed us, based on what the information we had at the time, to draft the budget on 40
Right,
cents.
that's right. maybe I didn't say it correctly, but that's what I was looking at, what you drafted the budget, right, at 40 cents.
So I don't know if you need to take a revote to make sure everybody's clear.
All right, let's take a revote at the, make sure it's correct. Yes. Okay. Second it. Uh-huh. Yeah. Right. That's all right. That's all right. Yes.
952, 500. Yes. We would bring in $952,500 more in revenue. But as you can see, that won't cover the $2.1 million deficit in the general fund. So it would lessen the deficit of 2.1 million by 952.5. As the budget's currently proposed, yes. But just keep in mind, the taxpayers will bear the full brunt of their valuation increase. So whatever your I'm just going to use yours, just bear with me. Whatever your property value increased, you're going to see that full increase, correct, at 47.5, as opposed to the 40, which is still, you would still pay, but not as much. It's complicated. But regardless, we understand the challenge of it all.
It is.
It is, yeah, I mean, as I said earlier, okay, as I said earlier tonight, when we first came in here, and, you know, it's gonna be tough, and it's gonna be some hard decisions that got to be made. But with that being said, now we will call this meeting to recess to Thursday night at 6 o'clock here in the town hall assembly room. I have a couple items that y'all need to look at and be ready to respond to Thursday night. So I adjourn this meeting. Recess this meeting until Thursday night. Right, yeah. You need a motion to recess? I'm sorry, I need a motion to recess. I have a motion by Dr. Brandon Harrell, second by Councilwoman Robertson, to recess the meeting to Thursday night, May the 23rd at 6 p.m. Any discussion? None. All vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you.